All right, hey guys, Sam back with you here on Friday, September 7th. Just as a reminder, you can look for the Bitcoin video coming from my partner Quan at some point today. And then I'm playing catch up here on some videos that I had intended to do for the members yesterday, but had to put it off to today. But I wanted to make a point of coming back and doing these for a number of reasons here. I try to take every opportunity that I can for those of you that come looking for crypto counsel and crypto analysis here, just to encourage you to open your mind a little bit to some other markets. Because as I will often say, as a trader, what is it that you care about, right? So you want volatility, you want technical trading, you want liquidity, you want ease of entry, ease of exit, you want a comfort level knowing that if you're in the market, that if you've got stops in the market, that those stops are going to be hit and filled. Same with targets, right? So I want to, amongst the members, right, we're really making a point of encouraging diversification here, particularly as we suffer through now going into our 9th month of the crypto bear. So for those of you here on YouTube, this is just, again, I try and make the point here that the underlying asset, it does not matter. It doesn't matter, right? FX, incredibly... It's very easy to trade, it's very technical, and you get these long sustained trends, which I'm trying to show you is the real advantage here. But to participate in those trends, you can't be looking at a 5-minute chart, right? That's just, I've been there. I've been that guy. I'm just telling you that is just a waste of time. Will you get a lot of action? Yeah. Will you make any money? Not likely. You want these, look at this trend here. So this is by request, right, from the members, right? So as the members now are diversifying into other assets. So here's the euro to the Aussie. I hadn't looked at this in a while. I don't know why in particular this was voted on so heavily to be analyzed here. But what a great example. So the reason I wanted to come back and catch up on these and do them is because there's just a lot to learn here. So first thing I want to show you here is that, look at this. So I'm on a daily chart, right? As I will remind you, if you're looking at FX, you have got to start on the daily. It's just, you have to. Okay, so where are we? So this I'm going to use the absolute high up here. I actually think it's a truncated fifth, but it doesn't matter. So here's the absolute high. That's October of 2008. Where's the low? That's August. Let's see. That's where's our date here? August of 2012. That's a 4-year trend. Could you stay with that? I don't know that I could stay with that, but so you want to know how FX traders get obscenely rich? Right there. Right? They've been doing it long enough, they can stay with that, right? So an algorithm can, right? Maybe let the software do it, because for a trader to stay long, that would take a very, very, very experienced trader. I'm not here to tell you that I took this and I could have stayed short. I don't know that I could. I just want to demonstrate to you why you want to look for these long-term trends. That's a 4-year trade. Right? Plenty of opportunity to add along the way. So just making that point here, hopefully that gets your attention. So here's our low in 2012. Well, as we're now here, we're pushing up to these highs in 19. That's a 2012 low. Right, we're 6 years into this. So again, guys, nothing changes, right? The technical approach to the market is identical. If anything, it's easier to see them on these longer trends. All right, the Elliott Wave is easier to identify. Now, there are times where you've got to go down to smaller time frames to dig out a count, see if you've got something that's valid. But for the most part, I want to stay on the daily when I'm trading FX. 3-hour, 4-hour would be the next place that I'd go. So look here, and I won't go through all of this, but as we come down here, this looks like this is likely our 4s. I can get a 5. I can get an ending diagonal coming down here. You see the 4 barely overlaps the 1 here. And there's some complexity to this, but either way, so regardless of how we count this, here's our dominant pivot, right? So coming off of this low, again, now I'm staying daily chart here. It does look like I go 1, 2, 1, 2. I get a very deep 2 off of this, right? But I've measured this and checked it. This is very technical here, so I can go 1, 2. Now that's an extreme for the third, but the subdivision within the third is very good. So I can get, I don't know that we need to dig, I don't know that it's relevant, but I can get a 5-wave structure on this coming into a 1-2. It's a deep 2. It goes past the 887, but we do stay internal. We don't violate this low. But then it gets very technical. So just to make the point of showing this is why you got to measure these. So if you're trying to figure out where you are in the count, did we complete here? Well, if I go 1-2, get it right on there. Well, here's the 2-6-1-8. So within this, because I get such a perfectly technical 1-2-3, 2-6-1-8 being the extreme for an Elliott Wave 3, I like this count better. So it looked like you might have gone, this could have been your 1, but I think the subdivision plays better here, so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, then I come up and look where my 5 is, right in the 3, 4, 1, 3. So all very technical, right? Those are extreme levels, but I can get a 1, 2, 3, larger degree in white down for the 4. So of course, right, so we're going to pull from the 2 to the 3 and see what we get there. So right to the 6-1-8, and then what do we do, right? So again, there's the footprint, right? So let me show it to you as I was showing it on the last video. So we're taking from this pivot to this pivot. Now we don't get it to the tick on the 50, but we come just, so that's likely the front run on the 6-1-8, and that's likely the front run on the target. Right, so there's the footprint. I'm just going to keep showing this to you so you know what you're looking for. There it is, right there. That's the algo footprint. That's all we're after, right? And right, so it doesn't, the time frame doesn't matter. But as I showed this on the last video, the reason I like this, right? So if we can take that and then we can put a pitchfork on it. Right, so we know that we have, if it holds here, we don't know when it hits that, but this is your corner pocket. So we have, that's the trade I'm always trying to show you to identify. It's my favorite trade, right? So here we have 80% probability of making the median line if this pivot holds. Right, so that's always what I'm looking for, regardless of the degree, regardless of what I'm analyzing. Can I find the footprint? Where's the algo footprint, right? And then can I get a pitchfork around it, right? Just to add more, technical confluence to it, right? So that's if you did not, if forget the Elliott Wave, right? Don't get caught up in the Elliott Wave. If nothing else, if you did nothing else but master that trade, look for it, know how to identify it on every time frame, you're going to have a very, very good experience in the market. Now you're going to get stopped out. I'm not saying you're not going to have losers, but over time, looking and identifying that, you can ignore the Elliott Wave if you just specialize on that. It's not that hard. Nothing terribly difficult about this. Where does the Elliott help? Right. So as we're analyzing this, could this be 1, 2, 3? Could that be A, B, C? Right. The Elliott's just helping you along the way, identify the probability zones, so that if you didn't happen to catch that turn, where's the next opportunity for you to get into that trade? Right? And where do we have invalidation, right? So if we're trying to play a count into a third wave there, when do we know that something's wrong? Well, if we were trading this as 1, 2, and we're going into a 3, well, if I found myself no longer in an impulsive structure, well, then I got to question where I am. I got to have an impulse in the third, right? So it's that rule set that helps you organize what could appear to be somewhat random, just chaotic. Right, that's the value that Elliott offers, right? But there's the footprint. It's as simple as that. That's what you're looking for. All right, so let's see if we can find it. So let me pull this out. All right, so here, right, front run, boom, right to target. So we know that's algo, right? Look at the reaction. It's always measured by the reaction. So let's think about that. Well, coming off of this low, if I've got 1, 2 in white here, up for the 3, 4, I've got a technical 4, 5. Well, I've got a completed 1 wave. Right, off of that low, right? So we completed 5 here. So we don't know, is that an A wave or a 1 wave? Well, we can't be absolutely sure. Well, right, I can trade that as a 1, but so this would be the primary count that I'm coming off this as a 1, right? Coming off of this trend down here. But that could certainly be an A wave. We don't know for sure. So then you got to look at it in the larger degree. So I like to go to the 3-day rather than the weekly. So acknowledging that we had 5 down, right? What's the basic premise of Elliott Wave, right? We trend in 5s, we correct in 3s. Well, so far while we've got a 5-wave structure here, the primary count, the primary could be this. We're just doing A, B, and C, right? So let's get that in a comparable degree. So let's go here on intermediate. So this could certainly just be an A, this be the B, and we're going up for the C. We do not know. So why do I say that? Well, the basic premise is we've got 5 down. So far, we're just making an internal correction. So you go, wonder why it stops there, right? Do I even need to draw this, right? So if I can get my pivot right on it. Right, well, what do we run into? There's the 50, right? So we got a couple of ticks through it. We got that spike. We got that spike through it, but do you think we're going to bump into a little resistance again? Probably. Probably. So if we're looking for that, that footprint, what do we have here? All right, so where could this be going? If we're going to get through this 50, what does that look like? All right, so, right, do we have the footprint? So just swing high. Do I have a corner pocket? Right? Do you see that? That's there it is. That's all you're looking for. That's the algo footprint. That's all it is. Right? Not rocket surgery. Pretty straightforward. Right? Impulse, retrace, impulse. Is that simple? So pulling that off, let's think about where that would put us. So we have an alternate count. So we have competing counts. So either this is, because we don't have enough history here, what are we going back to? 2005. This could be a BC coming down here. I'd have to get more historical data. So this could be, maybe we went, this was A, B, C into a B, and this is the C coming down, and now we're starting a whole new trend. That's certainly possible. But this could just be an A, B, C, just correcting that 5-wave structure that took 4 years to complete. Right? So we can't be quick to go, oh, well, new trend. Right? Could still very well just be correcting that 5-wave. So we don't know. But right now, knowing that that's one of the two, all right, so, you know, right now, we'll just leave this on the side because we don't know for sure what we've got here. So I'll pull this off, and we'll just take it on the assumption that this was a C completing, and maybe we've got a whole new 5-wave structure on the larger degree on the 3-day just starting to go back and challenge those highs. Maybe we're going back to those old highs, right? No reason why we couldn't. We've got a perfect corner pocket here. Excuse me. So if I go swing to swing, right? So it's not quite golden. We didn't get into it. We didn't get into we didn't get to the 618 for a golden corner pocket, but I've got a corner pocket trade, right? That's the best odds in trading, bar none, right there. We've got 80. If that low holds, and certainly looks good so far, 80% probability of making the median line. Now we don't know where. Sure looks like that could be the trajectory. So look what's sitting right there in the golden zone, right between, look, right ahead of the 65. The algo target, right? Algo target off of this 50. And well, swing low, swing high. We got in between the 50. We got just shy of the 618. There's the algo target, sitting right in the golden zone of the swing high to swing low. We're going to get through. Nothing says we have to stop there. We could easily be going up there, right? On the larger, that's a 3-day chart. So when does that have us getting there? 2020? Could you stay long that long? Well, if this is going to go up here, and if I have this right here, if we've got an impulse going underway and the 3 is going to be up, well, remember, we know the 3 is going to be very close to the negative 100 up here, right? If that's going to be a true 1, 2, 3, that's the 1618 up there. So if we're going to go that far, and we're going to pivot right here, potentially all we've got happening here is this is just the 1 wave of the 3rd wave. So this could pivot here down for the 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't know, right? But if it's going to get there, if it's going up that high, that's what it's going to look like. If we're going to get a true impulsive wave, we don't know where those are. Again, I'm just hypothetical here about where we could be hitting way over here. We do not know. This all could be over here. That could be years. It could be years of a trend, right? So that would put us in what, 2023, right? So you go, shit, man. Why do I care? Well, so let's think about that. So if you're long here, you'd be long from February of 2017, right? No pivots, nothing to take you out of the trade. If you were trading this as a 1-2 or an AB. Right, because remember, this could just be A, B, C. We're going into the golden zone before we head back down. No way to know. So what's the advantage of being sitting here? If you're long into that, well, if we're going to complete a 5-wave structure, what's the first assumption we make? That that's going to complete, and if this is going to finish as a 1 wave. Right, so here's the question you have to ask yourself. If you were to complete here, the odds are you're going to make a 50% retracement for the 2. So if you were long here, are you comfortable allowing 50% of that to be given back on the assumption that we're going to go up to that 3? That's the conundrum you always have to deal with. Where am I in the count? What's likely to happen next? Is this A, B, C, and we're going much, much lower? Right? You don't know. So we got to see. Do we get there? Two, what's the reaction at the target? Because nothing says we couldn't just blow right through that. Right? Just because it's there, but I certainly would be looking for a reaction if we're going to get there. And that's almost 10 points away. That's a long way to go. But sure on track. Nothing to suggest otherwise. I just make the point of showing you where you're going to run into resistance. You know that, well, you're about to hit it again right here. Got through it once. Do we get through again? Well, that would complete this count. So let's go down to go to a 4 hour here and see if we can dig into that any better. If there's anything we can learn from that. Okay, so here's our goal. Here's our corner pocket, right? It's not golden because we didn't get to the 618. Well, I got a pretty good one wave ABC for a 2. Well, we got to mark this. So note here. So we got, if that's our 1, right, on the assumption that that's pretty solid. So it looks to me like I've got the ingredients here, the subdivision. So it looks like I can go. Ooh, that's close. Let me check that. Okay, so let's get up here. Right, that's going to be very close. So let's check this. Do we have an impulse? Okay, right. Oh, no, we don't. Right, so that can't be the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how else could we count that? If that's 1, okay. So do you see the conundrum there, right? So if this actually sort of leans more into the idea that we may be doing this as an ABC. All right. So do you see the problem here? If that's 1, 2, and if that's 1, let's go to a 2 hour. I got to have an impulsive structure in my third. I can't have the overlap there. So if I've got that right, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's get right on that. Wrong one. All right. So if that's 1, 2. 1, 2. Well, so that would be 1. Well, it's going to getting a little tricky, right? So we have to get an impulse. So this dequalifies us for this as the 1. So it can't be that I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 because I overlap here, right? So that disqualifies that count. So either the 1 is lower, and I have to have. So I'd have to have 1, 2. That could work. Let's just think about that. All right. So if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the 1, that's the 2. Okay. So let's think about that as a 2. If this is the pivot here and we go into that, where do we go? Do we get the 50? Well, it's a little shy, but note what we get here. So there's a slight front run on the 50, but we get right to algo target, and then we get the reaction. So that's a contender for the 1. So we could have 1, 2, 1, 2. Boy, it's tricky to get that 3 to place, but that could be our 1. So let's think about that. So if that's 1, 2, all right, then we've got to get this. This becomes our 1 of our third. So it continues to be somewhat problematic, right? So if that were the 1, well, that clears us on the 4 here, right? But it doesn't help us in. I've got to go 1. I've got to go 1, 2, and then yet again I've got to get an impulse. I always have to have an impulse in the 3, or the count doesn't fly, doesn't qualify. So it looks like that could play as a 1. So then we'd have to count it this way, right? So then we'd have to be looking at 1, 2. Got to go. Boy, that's problematic for us. So we can't get a 3 out of that because of the depth of the 4. So let's think about what that means for us. I got to pull back out. Let's go back to the 8 hour. All right. So here, this is where Elliott can be helpful to us. So if this is the 1 here and this is the 4. Right, do you see the problem I'm running into? I can't get a good impulse here. So let's rethink it. All right, so let's think possibly we're doing it this way. So maybe I've just got this wrong. Right, so let's pull that off. So if that's 1, so this could be 1, 2. So now what you do is you measure. Right, so here this is. Hopefully the advantage of doing this on the fly is you go through the thought process with me. Okay, so this couldn't be the 3. So that disqualifies that because now upon measuring it here, here would be less than 100%. All right, so I go 1, 2. So this could be the 3, right? Because here's 100%. But it also looks more, so here's the problem, right? So this pivot here is overlapping that 1. So you'd have to go. Boy, that's a problem because that looks more like we've got an ABC. This looks like it's ABC. All right, do you see that? So let me get that down to it. more reasonable degree. So that looks more like I've got A, B, C. So if that's going to overlap, then I'd have A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. Now, so this, running into a conundrum here, right? So if this is going to be a diagonal, one has to overlap, right? So it just continues to be a problem. So I don't get the overlap. So that implies that we got to have an impulsive structure here. So let's think, how can we get 3 out of that? Maybe we just can't, right? So we have to rethink the whole thing, right? So if that's 1, 2, so this is the tell, right? So is there a way to get a, all right, we got to break it down again. All right, so let's go down back to that 2 hour. See if we can get the 3 out of that. All right, it's a problem if you can't, right? So this is where it's like, oh man, that's annoying that I can't get that count to work. Well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So let's get this right on that pivot. So 1, 2. So this becomes the ongoing problem. You can't get a 3 out of this. Oof. So 1, 2, 3, we overlap here. So let's think of it this way. So we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives us our 1 wave. All right, that works. Okay, so that gives us our 1 wave. So to put it in a larger degree, let's go, we get this in blue. So this is a candidate here for our 1. Then we get an A, B, we'd have to go C here. Now we got to measure, so I'm just going to put these up here as placeholders, 4 and 5. Don't know where I'm going to put those yet. So if that's 1, 2, let's get these down. It's a degree here. All right, so here's the, hopefully you get something out of this. Real word, this is exactly what you deal with when you're trying to qualify a count, right? So hopefully there's some value here and you haven't already checked out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a 1. Then A, B, C. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have another diagonal, right? Do you see what happens here? So I get 1, 2, A, B, C into a 3, 4, 5. Gives me another 1. So it looks like I'm going 1. Do I overlap here? So I've got one leading diagonal followed by another leading diagonal, which means that this has to go up a degree. All right, so we'll get there. All right, let's go to minuet on that. Okay, so then that means all of this has to go up, right? We're not ready for that yet. Okay, so if that's 1, 2, so this would have to be this way. We'd have to go, let me change that color. Let's go to green here. So we'd have to have 1, 2. And we can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. Boy, that's problem. Yet again, it's another problem because we have this overlapping, right? So this is just a constant series of overlaps here. So tough to get a count here that flies. All right, so let's move all of this up and think about what else it could be. Maybe the whole idea that we've got this as a 5-wave structure is wrong, and just the constant overlapping here is creating more diagonals. All right, so if that's 1, 2, 1, 2, well, let's think about where the 50 is. So if I'm pulling from the start of the 1 through that 5, so I'm coming. So I like that here as a 1. So am I in green? Yeah. Okay, so we go from here as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'm not sure. Let's measure it. All right, so if that's 1, 2, do I have the distance here? It does not look like I do, but let's check it. 1, 2. All right, so it can't be there. All right, so here's the ongoing conundrum. So this would have to be, so that would get us there as a 3, but this is too deep as a 4 for this to play. Sorry, as an impulse. So I can't go impulse yet again, and I can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this looks like I go 1, 2, 3. That looks like an A wave. So it's just continues to be problematic. Okay, so if that's 1, 2, could we have another 1, 2? Well, let's see if that could work. Right, that all has to go higher. So maybe that's our 3. So this could, boy, it's this problematic. So let's think about it as a diagonal. All right, so that would be, let's pull this over, pull this down. So this could be A, B, C. Let's get that degree up, and we'll go minuet there. All right, could that work? So I've got to go looks more like, okay, so this, boy, this is just no way to get this to work. All right, so I've got such mixed signals here. So let's see what I'm running into. So here, this looks like a good 1, right? But then this looks like a good 4, and it's technical, but I can't get the count to work there. So what's the alternate? So let me see, pull out here to 4. All right, so I want this as a 1, 2, but I can't have it. I can't make that work because even though that looks like, oh boy, there's the 1, there's the 4, I can't get unless I'm just missing it, right? So I want to go. You can't get that to work either. So let's just back up for one last look at this. So I want to go, this is my 1, this is my 4. So I've got to get 5 in here without a diagonal. So here's my problem child right here. So even this doesn't work here. As I'm tempted, I want to go here. Let's see here. So could I go 1, 2? I'd have to allow for that overlap. Boy, it is subtle. So there is a line of thinking that particularly in FX or in something like soybeans with increased volatility, you can allow for a very slight overlap, which means I'd have to get there this way. So this would have to be 3, 4, allowing for the overlap. 5, I know purists are going to be outraged. All right, so let's think about that. So with this, boy, there's just no other way to count it that would work here that lets me get this as my 1 and my 4. So again, as I come back and look at that, so I've got an ABC coming into the 4. This can't be the 1 any longer. So I have 1, 2. I'm allowing for the overlap. Boy, there's not any other way to count that. So I allow for the overlap. So let's see if it's technical, right? So if this is my 2, if I get the 2 right, well, we go golden zone for the 4. So that, could be that's an algo pushing because they want the fill. They want to run the stops on the 618, which would have been to the tick here. So that's, are we talking ourselves into it or not? Question mark, right? So that's a little bit of a problem, but because we're so technical, of course, what do we get here? We got golden zone right to target. So that could be what you had happening there. So the reason we always go golden zone is because they run the stops. So look, here's what they might have done. So if we sit right on that pivot, so an Elliott trader is going to look at that and go, can't go there because it invalidates the count. Well, even within that count, you have problems getting this. So you'd have to have 1, 2. Boy, there's just no easy way to get that to play. But that is a technical pivot. So if we allow for that little overlap on the assumption that that's just, trader, what does my partner call it? Sideways fuckery. That's a little stop run that creates that little pivot down here. So if we allow for it, I know purists, right? Calm down. So if we go up for this, so we could finish that in 5. So we can get. Looks like I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finish with do I get a diagonal? Yeah, finish with a diagonal up there for my 5. ABC. All right, let's see if we can make that work. So if that's, let's get that degree down lower. We'll go to micro. All right, so if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though this is that is very difficult to get a clean count out of that. But you might, so this would have to be your 4 here, as that doesn't overlap any of those pivots. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 3, right, then we come ABC, right? Does the rest of it make sense? So then we come down ABC. Here's the big tell that I'm trying to fit the count around. Right, so acknowledging that I got problems right here, right? So that makes me cautious about what we're looking at here. So let's pull the whole thing back out, right? Again, half of you probably already gone already. Okay, so here's this, right? So this, if nothing else, proof that I do these on the fly, right? So here's one that slowed me down, right? So I don't like these to be this long, but here we are nonetheless. That's the reality of technical analysis, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Could we be going, if that's my 4, kind of looks like I got a 1, 2, and I'm going into my 3, so I'm in the process of completing the 5th. There's a 5 up here somewhere. So let's think about where that could be going. Well, if this is underway and I'm in this in a 1, 2, 3's going in, 4 and 5 still yet to come. Now we don't know, could be a diagonal, could have an ending diagonal. All right, so let's wick off our 1s so we know if it's going to turn into a diagonal. 1, 2, let's measure, right? So if this is the 1, and that's my 2, well, that's a reasonable target for my 3rd here. Now, so look what I'm going to run into at the 272. That's the 50 from the larger pull, right? That we ran into once already. So we're going to run into that 50 right at the 1272. We get through it. Then here's the next stop where you'd anticipate that 3. Then we come back for the 4. So 3. So the roadmap we're trying to build is this right here. Right, so we'd be looking for this to continue up here, put in the 4, and then go up for the 5. All right, so 4 potentially over here. We don't know what that looks like, but until we get this pivot up here, we don't know where that's going. But it looks like we could have 3, 4, 5, and we finish up there. So 2 thoughts. One is, since this is problematic, you know, with more time and were I not recording this, I'm going to come back and see if I can get a count that plays that's a little more clean. It can be played more cleanly through that. I don't want to take too much time here. I'm already at 30 minutes. And again, half of you already left. So if that's what we have here, so if this is going to finish as 3, 4, 5, so now we got to pull all the way back out. So let's go back to a 12-hour. Think about where that could be going. All right, so all of this comes back together. If this is going to finish up here, well, likely we're still just putting in the 1 wave of the 3rd wave if we're going to get a true Elliott push out of this. So this being so problematic, you know, one thought is you wait for this to pivot up here and then take the first retrace. See if we can get, and again, I'm going to come back here and work through that without the pressure of recording and see if I can get a count that plays more cleanly here. If I do, I'll post it under the video, but that's going to take some work. So if we finish up here 3, 4, 5, well, the odds are, well, one of 2 things is happening. Remember, we have the alternate count that this is A, B, C. So if we come up here and we pivot and we run into the golden zone, because you know, again, nothing says this can't go higher, right? And this all of this couldn't be much higher. Right? We don't know. It's just potential. That's where we know we can run into resistance, and we have this algo target up here from this 50. So if that's going to continue to play out that way, this could all just be an ABC. Right? So we don't want to assume that it's 1, 2, 1, 2, but that would be so you'd have the alternate there. So it's either ABC or 1, 2, 1, 2 going in. Right, so that very tricky one. So if it's that tricky, you know, one thought is you just go, fuck, until I can get a better count on this, or I'm more comfortable with where we are, or I work through this, or you work through it, and you get something that can fit there. You just stay out of the trade until you complete up here, and then you know you're likely going to have a dominant swing to dominant swing. You look for the next 50. You can look at this and go, yeah, the Elliott Wave is bullshit. What do I care? Well, you know, that's your prerogative, right, to do that here. I would tell you that one way or another, that will often come back into play and can bite you in the ass. So you just have to be aware of it, that you have an anomaly right there. So that's a tough one, right? So I can understand. I was kind of wondering why members were looking for a video review of that. That's a very tricky one coming off of that. Very difficult to get a count that works here. But 99% of this clear as a bell until we got into this wave structure right here. Very tricky. All right, I'm going to sign off here because I went way too long on both of these. But I will see if I can get that count worked out. I will post it under the video. Otherwise, we'll just wait and see if we get some more technical trading here that sets up the 4 into the 5, which potentially is our pivot for either a 1 or a C. All right, guys. I hope you got something out of that. All right, see you later.